Love can blind you, but betrayal from your own child cuts like nothing else. This is a father's story of heartbreak, fighting to save his daughter and his life from a lie that threatened to shatter everything. My name's Tom Bradley. I'm 52, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm a high school football coach, the guy you'll find pacing the sidelines, shouting plays, trying to turn scrappy teens into a team. But my real game has always been raising my daughter, Ellie, who's 16 now. She's been my everything since her mom, Claire, left us when Ellie was 6. Claire said she needed space, packed a bag, and moved to Oregon, leaving me to figure out single parenting. I didn't mind. Ellie's giggles, her stubborn streak, the way she'd mock my terrible cooking, it kept me going. I wasn't a perfect dad. Coaching meant long hours, late practices, and too many microwave dinners, but I made sure Ellie had what she needed: a cozy home, clothes, someone to clap loudest at her debate club meets. We were a team, or so I thought. We'd watch old horror flicks on Fridays, fight over the last Oreo, laugh until we couldn't breathe. I trusted her. Figured she trusted me too. Last spring, things changed. Ellie hit her sophomore year and started pulling away, snappy answers, glued to her phone, dodging my questions. I chalked it up to teenage rebellion. She was still my straight-A kid, never in trouble, but then she started breaking rules. Staying out late, hanging with kids I didn't know. I tried talking, but she'd just roll her eyes. When I caught her sneaking out to a party she'd promised not to attend, I grounded her. No phone, no going out for 2 weeks, fair. Right? Ellie didn't think so. She screamed I was ruining her life, that I didn't get her. I held firm, thinking tough love was the answer. The next day, my world flipped. I got a call from Ellie's school counselor, Ms. Larson, asking me to come in immediately. I thought it was about her grades or a fight with a friend. Instead, Ms. Larson sat me down, her face grim, and said Ellie had accused me of neglect. She claimed I was never home, left her to fend for herself, even said she went hungry some nights because I didn't care. My jaw hit the floor. I stammered, explaining my coaching hours, how I always stocked the fridge, how I'd raised her alone. But Ms. Larson's eyes were cold. We've reported it to Child Protective Services, she said. CPS. The word felt like a punch to the gut. I'm a coach in a small town like Asheville. My face is on game flyers. Parents trust me with their kids. An accusation like this could torch my job, my reputation, everything. Worse, it could take Ellie away, driving home. My hand shook so bad I nearly swerved off the road. Ellie's words, neglect, abandonment, kept looping in my head. How could she say that? After all I'd done? I felt betrayed, like my own kid had stabbed me in the back. When I got home, she was in her room, door locked. I knocked, pleaded for answers, but she yelled, "Go away." I stood there, staring at the door, my heart breaking. My little girl, the one I'd carried on my shoulders at the Biltmore estate, had just lit a match that could burn our lives down. I didn't know if we'd make it through. The call from CPS came 2 days later. A caseworker, Ms. Carter, wanted to visit our home. I spent the night scrubbing every inch of our place, floors, kitchen, Ellie's room when she wasn't looking. I stocked the fridge with fresh groceries, hung up her debate trophies, anything to show I was a good dad. But inside, I was a wreck. Ellie's accusation felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I kept replaying our fight, her screaming that I didn't understand her. Had I missed something? Was she hurting in a way I hadn't seen? Ms. Carter arrived, all business with her clipboard and polite smile. She asked about my schedule, Ellie's routine, our meals. I showed her the pantry, packed with her favorite snacks, the calendar where I marked her school events. She nodded, scribbled notes, then said she needed to talk to Ellie alone. My stomach churned. Ellie barely spoke to me now. Would she double down on her lie? When Ms. Carter left, she gave me a vague, "We'll be in touch." I felt like I was waiting for a jury to decide my fate. At school, the rumors started. Asheville's small, and gossip spreads like wildfire. Parents at games gave me wary looks. A coworker asked if I was holding up okay, with that pitying tone. My principal, Mr. Hayes, pulled me aside. "Tom, we need to address this," he said. "The school board's concerned about optics." Optics, I'd coached for 20 years, turned our team into state contenders, and now one lie from my daughter could end it. I wasn't suspended, but the implication was clear. Fix this or else. Ellie was a stranger in our house. She'd come home, grab a snack, and lock herself in her room, music blaring. I tried talking, knocking, leaving notes, even slipping her favorite cookies under the door. Nothing. One night, I lost it, banging on her door. Ellie, why'd you do this? You know it's not true. She opened it, eyes blazing. You're always at work, Dad. You don't even know me anymore. She slammed it shut. Her words hit hard. Was she right? Had I been so caught up in coaching I'd missed her crying out? I started doubting myself. The late nights at practice, the weekends scouting opponents. Maybe I'd left her alone too much. But neglect? I'd fought to keep us together after Claire bailed. I'd learned to make her ponytails, sat through her school plays, paid for art classes she loved. I wasn't perfect, but I was there. The thought of losing her to CPS, though, kept me up at night. My job was at risk. Sure, but Ellie was my life. If they took her, I'd have nothing. Another CPS visit came a week later. This time, 2 caseworkers showed up, and they interviewed Ellie at school without me. When I picked her up, she wouldn't meet my eyes. What did you tell them? I asked. She shrugged. Doesn't matter. It did. It mattered more than anything. That night, CPS emailed about a formal hearing in 3 weeks. My heart sank. This wasn't just about clearing my name. It was about saving us. I called a lawyer, Sarah, recommended by a friend. She told me to gather proof, receipts, photos, anything showing I cared for Ellie. I started digging, but every document I found, her old report cards, a Father's Day card she'd made, felt like evidence of a life we were losing. I needed to know why she'd lied. Not just to fix this, but to get my daughter back. The wait for the CPS hearing was like living with a storm cloud over my head. Every day, I woke up braced for bad news. My stomach knotted, my mind replaying Ellie's accusation. Neglect, abandonment. How could my own daughter think that? I'd given her everything I had, built my life around her since Claire walked out. But maybe I'd missed something, some sign she was hurting. I hired a lawyer, Sarah, who was all business, telling me to gather evidence like my life depended on it. Receipts, photos, schedules, she said. Show them you're a dad, not a stranger. So I did, digging through years of grocery bills, Ellie's report cards, pictures of us at her debate meets or hiking the Blue Ridge Mountains. Each item felt like a piece of our life I was fighting to keep. Ellie was barely speaking to me. She'd come home from school, grab a snack, and lock herself in her room, music blasting. I'd knock, leave notes, even slide her favorite brownies under the door, but nothing broke through. One night, I found her sketchbook on the kitchen counter, open to a drawing of a girl alone in a dark forest, shadows creeping in. It stopped me cold. Was this how she felt? I wrote in the margins, I'm here, Ellie, I love you. The next day, the sketchbook was gone. No reply. I didn't know if she'd seen it or thrown it out. At school, the rumors were relentless. Asheville's a small town, and word of the CPS investigation spread like a brush fire. Parents at games gave me tight smiles, their eyes full of judgment. A mom pulled her son from the team, muttering about trust issues. My principal, Mr. Hayes, called me in, his face grim. Tom, the board's worried about the optics, he said, sort this out. I'd coached for 2 decades, turned our team into a state contender, and now my own daughter's lie was threatening to erase it all. I wasn't suspended, but the warning was clear. My job was on the line. I tried confronting Ellie one evening, blocking her path to her room. We need to talk, I said, my voice shaking. Why do you tell them I neglected you? She glared, arms crossed, eyes wet. You're never here, Dad. You're always with your stupid team, and I'm just nothing. Her words hit like a sledgehammer. I'd thought I was enough, showing up for her debates, keeping the fridge stocked, but she felt invisible. I reached for her, but she pulled away. Just leave me alone, she muttered, slamming her door. I stood there, wondering when I'd lost her. The CPS hearing was in a sterile county office, lights buzzing like a bad headache. Sarah had me prepared. Stick to facts, stay calm. The caseworkers read Ellie's claims. I was absent, left her hungry, didn't care about her needs. I showed them my evidence. Photos of us laughing at the Biltmore estate. receipts for her art supplies, my coaching schedule proving I was home most nights. Sarah argued the accusation came from a fight, not reality. The workers took notes, said they'd follow up. I left feeling like I'd run a marathon with no finish line. A week later, mess, Carter called. Case closed, no evidence of neglect. Relief hit me hard, but it was bittersweet. My job was safe, for now, but Ellie and I were still broken. I couldn't keep living like strangers, so I booked a family therapist, Dr. Monroe, on Sarah's recommendation. Ellie groaned when I told her, but she showed up to the first session, slouched and silent. Dr. Monroe asked gentle questions, getting Ellie to admit she'd lied out of anger, wanting to make me notice her. She hadn't expected CPS. Hearing it eased the ache in my chest, but not enough. I told her how scared I'd been, how her lie nearly cost me everything. She cried, and for the first time in months, I felt a spark of hope. We agreed to keep going, to therapy, to trying, but I knew it'd be a long road to fix what her lie had broken. Therapy with Dr. Monroe was like navigating a minefield at first. Ellie sat as far from me as possible, arms crossed, staring at the floor. I fumbled through my feelings, trying to explain how her lie had gutted me, how I'd spent nights terrified I'd lose her, my job, my life. Dr. Monroe was patient, asking Ellie why she'd felt so angry. "You're always at work, Dad," she said, voice sharp but trembling. I felt like I didn't matter. It was like a knife twisting. I'd thought providing was enough: food, a home, her art classes, but she needed me, not just the things I gave her. Dr. Monroe suggested a plan: no phones at dinner, weekly check-ins, and I'd cut back on late practices. It sounded simple, but it wasn't. Ellie treated dinner like a punishment. Barely speaking, I'd ask about her day, her sketches, her debate team, and get shrugs or one-word answers. But I kept trying, remembering Dr. Monroe's words. Trust takes time. I started leaving practice early twice a week, taking Ellie to the River Arts District for coffee or to sketch by the French Broad River. Sometimes she'd talk about a manga she loved or a fringe drama, and I'd cling to those moments like lifelines. Other times, she'd shut down, and I'd drive home wondering if I was failing again. School was a constant battle. The CPS case was closed, but the rumors lingered. A dad at a game muttered, "That's the coach who got investigated." I overheard teachers whispering in the break room. My principal warned me the board was still monitoring me, and I felt the weight of their judgment every day. I poured my heart into coaching, but it wasn't the same. Parents questioned my calls. Players slacked off, sensing the tension. I wanted to blame Ellie, but I couldn't. She was a kid, hurting, and I was the adult. Still, some nights, I'd stare at the ceiling, angry at her for putting me in this mess, then guilty for feeling that way. One evening, I found an old photo album in the garage, us at the Asheville Arboretum, Ellie giggling with paint on her nose from an art fair. I left it on the kitchen table with a note. "Missed this version of us." The next morning, Ellie was flipping through it, quiet. "You were such a dork, Dad," she said, pointing to a picture of me in a goofy hat. Her smile was small, but real. In therapy, she admitted the lie came from anger over the grounding, wanting to hurt me like I hurt her. She didn't think it had spiraled to CPS. I told her how scared I'd been, how I'd never stop fighting for her. She reached for my hand, and I held it tight, feeling a crack in the wall between us. But progress was shaky. Ellie broke curfew a week later, coming home smelling of cigarette smoke. I wanted to yell but kept calm, grounding her for a week. In therapy, she admitted she was testing me, seeing if I'd give up. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. And I meant it. I set stricter rules. Daily check-ins, no hanging with the kids she'd been sneaking out with. She groaned but nodded. I noticed her sketches changing, less darkness, more color, like a drawing of our dog, Max, sleeping in the sun. She left it out for me to see, a quiet gesture. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. We were both trying, clawing our way back to each other. But the scar of her lie still stung, and I knew trust would take more than a few good days. Therapy started feeling less like a chore and more like a lifeline. Ellie was opening up, bit by bit, talking about how her mom's leaving had left a hole she didn't know how to fill. "I thought you'd leave too, Dad," she said in one session, her voice barely above a whisper. You're always so busy. It hit me hard. I'd been so focused on keeping us afloat. Coaching, paying bills, making sure she had what she needed. I hadn't realized she felt alone. I promised to be more present, not just in the house, but for her. I made changes, big ones. I cut back on scouting trips. Let Mark, my assistant coach, handle Friday practices. It ruffled feathers. Parents grumbled our team wasn't as sharp, but I didn't care. Ellie mattered more. We started hiking every Sunday, just us, no phones, traipsing through the Blue Ridge Mountains. The first time, she dragged her feet, but by the fourth, she was sketching wildflowers, teasing me when I misnamed a bird. That's a sparrow, not a hawk, Dad. She'd laugh, and I'd grin, soaking in the sound. At home, our no-phone dinners were awkward at first, but she started talking about a crush she had, her debate team's latest win. I listened, really listened, and it felt like I was finally seeing my daughter again. School was still a minefield. The rumors hadn't died, and a local blog posted a vague piece about concerns with a coach. No names, but everyone knew. A mom confronted me at a game, saying she didn't trust me with her son. I kept my cool, but it burned. My principal put me on a performance review, a polite way of saying my job was still at risk. I told Ellie about it, not to guilt her, but to be honest. Her face fell. I didn't mean for this, Dad, she said in therapy. She wrote a letter to the school board, guided by Dr. Monroe, saying I was a good dad, always there for her. It didn't sway them, but it meant everything to me. Ellie wasn't perfect either. She'd slip, sneaking her phone at dinner, coming home late once, swearing it was just a friend's party. I grounded her, kept calm, remembering Dr. Monroe's advice. She's testing your commitment. In therapy, Ellie admitted she was scared I'd give up, like her mom did. I'm here for good, I told her, and she nodded, eyes wet. One night, she showed me a sketch of us hiking, both smiling, mountains behind us. This is how I want us to be, she said. I framed it, hung it in the kitchen. It was a small step, but it felt like a giant leap. But the town's judgment lingered. At a game, a dad yelled, "Focus on your own kid." I ignored it, but it stung. Ellie noticed, too, and started sticking up for me, telling her friends I was a great coach. Her sketches got brighter, portraits of our house, Max, even me coaching. She left them out, a quiet way of saying she was trying. One evening, we cooked tacos together, laughing when salsa splattered everywhere. She apologized again for the lie, said she'd been so mad she didn't think. I forgave her, but I knew we had to keep working. Trust was like a broken bone, slow to heal, but stronger if you said it right. Our Sunday hikes became my anchor. Ellie started bringing her sketchbook, drawing the Smoky Mountains while I rambled about football or fumbled plant names. She'd roll her eyes, call me a nerd, and I'd laugh, cherishing every smile. Those moments felt like the old us, before the lie tore us apart. But therapy showed me we weren't fixed. Ellie was still grappling with her mom's abandonment, and I was wrestling with my own guilt. Dr. Monroe pushed me to talk about my fear of losing her, how the CPS investigation had me waking up in cold sweats. Saying it in front of Ellie was brutal. She looked away, but I saw her shoulders shake. She whispered, "I didn't know it had hurt you that much, Dad." It was a crack in the wall, letting light through. At home, we stuck to our rules. No phone dinners turned into real conversations. Her telling me about a debate argument she nailed or a band she loved. One night, she spilled about a boy she liked, then made me swear not to tell. I laughed, promised, feeling like a dad again. But she still tested me. Once, she didn't check in after school, and I found her at a park with that boy, laughing like nothing was wrong. I was livid but kept it together, grounding her for 2 weeks. In therapy, she admitted she was seeing if I'd notice. I always will, I said, and she hugged me, a rare win. School was a slog. The blog post sparked a petition from some parents to review my role. My principal said it was just noise, but I felt the pressure. Mark ran interference, but I could tell the team sensed it. Fewer kids stayed late for extra drills. I told Ellie about the petition, wanting her to understand the fallout. She looked guilty, said she'd talked to her friends' parents. In therapy, she worked on another letter to the board, not admitting the lie. that had caused more trouble, but saying, I'd always been there for her. It didn't stop the petition, but a few parents backed off, and I was grateful for her effort. Ellie's sketches were a barometer of her heart. They'd shifted from dark forests to bright scenes. Us hiking, Max chasing squirrels, she started leaving them out for me. A quiet apology. One night, she asked to watch an old horror movie, like we used to. We curled up on the couch, laughing at the cheesy zombies, and for a moment, the lie felt like a distant memory, but I wasn't naive. In therapy, Dar. Monroe warned us trust was a long game. Ellie admitted she still felt angry sometimes, like I'd choose work over her. I told her I was trying, cutting hours, prioritizing her. She nodded, and I saw a flicker of belief in her eyes. I started a new tradition. Every month, we'd pick a new trail to explore. Ellie would sketch, I'd pack snacks, and we'd talk about school, her dreams of art school, my hopes for her. One hike, she opened up about missing her mom, how she'd check Claire's social media, hoping for a message that never came. I held her as she cried, promising I'd never leave. It wasn't a fix, but it was honest. We were learning to navigate the hurt, to build something stronger from the pieces her lie had left behind. By fall, Ellie and I were finding a groove, but it wasn't smooth sailing. Therapy had become a safe space where we could be raw. Ellie talked about feeling like she'd lost her place in my life after her mom left. You were always at practice, Dad, she said, her voice tight. I thought I was just a chore. I admitted I'd been scared to fail her, pushing so hard at work to provide that I'd missed her signals. Dr. Monroe helped us make a trust pact. Small promises, like me being home for dinner 5 nights a week, her texting if she'd be late. It sounded simple, but it took work. At home, we leaned into our routines. Ellie started joining me in the kitchen, helping make her favorite lasagna. Even if we bickered over how much cheese was too much, she'd laugh, flick sauce at me, and I'd feel like we were us again. Her sketches kept getting brighter. Scenes of Asheville's mountains, our hikes, even a goofy one of me coaching, whistle and all. She gave me that one for Father's Day, and I hung it in my office. A reminder of what we were fighting for, but she still pushed boundaries. Once, she skipped a check-in, claiming she forgot. I grounded her. No yelling, just firm. In therapy, she admitted she was testing if I'd care. I do, I said, and she nodded, eyes soft. School was a mixed bag. The petition fizzled, thanks to Ellie's letters and a few parents who spoke up for me. My principal eased up, but the board kept me on a short leash, citing community trust. I heard fewer whispers at games, but some parents still gave me cold stares. I focused on the kids who showed up, running drills, building plays. Ellie started coming to games again, sitting in the stands with her sketchbook, cheering when we scored. It felt like a gift, her being there, even if the town hadn't fully forgiven me. One night, Ellie asked about her mom. We were cleaning dishes, and she went quiet, then said, Do you think she ever thinks about me? I didn't sugarcoat it. Claire hadn't called in years, but I told Ellie she was enough, more than enough, and I'd always be here. She hugged me, and I held on, feeling the weight of her lie fade a little more. In therapy, she admitted she'd checked Claire's Instagram, saw her with a new family. It hurt, but talking about it helped. Dr. Monroe suggested Ellie write her feelings in a letter she'd never send. She did, and showed me a sketch inspired by it. A girl standing tall in a field, sun breaking through clouds. It was her, healing. We weren't perfect. Ellie slipped once, coming home late with a vape in her pocket. I grounded her, and she pushed back, but we talked it out in therapy. She was scared I'd stop trying. Like Claire, I promised I wouldn't, and she started keeping her check-ins, even texting me random memes to make me laugh. I kept my end, too. Home for dinners, hikes every Sunday. We were building something new, not just patching up the old. Her lie had cracked us open, but it also showed us how to fight for each other, one step at a time. A year after Ellie's lie, we were different, not fixed, but stronger. Therapy had taught us how to talk, not just shout or shut down. Ellie still had her moments, like sneaking her phone at dinner or snapping when I asked about school, but she'd apologize. And we'd hash it out with Dr. Monroe. I kept my promises, home for dinner most nights, Sunday hikes, no matter the weather. Ellie started texting me out of the blue, silly gifts, debate wins, or just, love you, Dad. Her sketches filled our home, us hiking, Mac snapping, even a portrait of me coaching, clipboard in hand. She gave me that one for my birthday, and I hung it in the living room, right next to her debate trophies. School was steadier. The board lifted my probation after enough parents vouched for me, and the rumors faded, though some folks still whispered. I didn't let it get to me. Coaching felt good again, calling plays, watching kids grow. Ellie came to every home game, sketching in the stands, cheering louder than anyone. One night, a player's dad apologized for signing the petition, said he'd misjudged me. It wasn't forgiveness from everyone, but it was enough. I focused on what mattered. My team, my daughter. Our hikes turned into a ritual. We'd pick a new trail each month. Ellie sketching, me packing her favorite snacks. She opened up more about wanting to study art in college, her fear of failing, how she still checked her mom's social media. Hoping for a sign that never came, I listened, shared my own fears, like how I'd worried I wasn't enough for her. One hike, she stopped, hugged me, and said, "You're enough, Dad." I held her tight, tears in my eyes. Her lie had nearly broken us, but it also forced us to see each other. We still stumbled. Ellie got caught skipping class once, hanging with that boy again. I grounded her, no phone for a week, and she pushed back, saying I was too strict. In therapy, Dr. Monroe helped us see it was her testing me again, scared I'd drift away. I doubled down, more check-ins, clearer rules, but also more time together, like cooking nights or binge-watching her favorite anime. She started keeping her promises, too, texting when she'd be late, showing me new sketches. One was of us at the Biltmore estate, laughing under the Christmas lights. "This is us now," she said, and I framed it, a reminder of how far we'd come. The lie scar was still there, but it was fading. We'd learned to balance love with discipline, to talk instead of hide. Ellie wasn't the little girl I'd carried on my shoulders anymore, but she was still my daughter, and I was still her dad. We were building trust, not just fixing it, and every hike, every dinner, every sketch felt like a step towards something unbreakable. I knew we'd never be perfect, but we were enough for each other, and that was worth fighting for.